welcome to this stream right here. Today I want to teach you how to do a payment procedure with Solidity, how to transfer money from different accounts and all that. I'm going to show you that example by helping you build a bookstore where people can come and sell their book, that is create a book, and then that book can now be sold. People can purchase it, and when they purchase it, certain amount of money, like in percentage, is going to go to us and as the platform which this book is being sold, and then it's going to go as a fee or as a tax, and then the remaining amount is going to go to the seller of that book. So this is what I want to teach you today, and it's going to really help you to solidify your understanding of payments, processes in Solidity. I hope you're ready for that. Smash that subscribe button, that like, and hit that notification bell on that LinkedIn Gospel, and let's get into the code. Now, I'm just going to make sure that this code, you're going to test it out on the Remix ID online one, because when I have my integrated to this, can only be seen from my end and you can't really see it, so I don't want to confuse you. So I'm just going to take you through the course, and then you can test out the code. I'm also going to show my viewers later how to test out this code, and they will see it for themselves. So right now I'm going to create a new smart contract, and this one is going to be called bookstore. Alright, bookstore.sold for Solidity. Fantastic. Are you there now? Hello? Okay, can you see that bookstore file that I just created? Alright, so let's quickly get started. You know how it goes. You start your Solidity smart contract by specifying the license identifier, which is by SPDX. Okay, license identifier. Make sure you use this method that I'm using. Everything starts with capital letter, so that it will go well for you. So the next thing, you need to specify the contract, the compiler range qualified to successfully compile the smart contract, which is by saying pragma Solidity, and then you specify the version, which starts from version 0.7.0 down to anything below 0.9.0. okay, so this is how you specify it. And once you're done with this specification, now you just create the contract body, which is by specifying contract bookstore, okay, and then open a block. It is quite important for you to know that whenever you're creating a smart contract, you should use the convention of giving the same name that you use in naming the file. Give the contract name to be the same thing as well, because while working with Truffle smart contract development frameworks like Truffle, I found out that a confliction in the name can produce errors for you, and you may not know where the error is coming from. So by experience, I've seen that doing this sequence will save you a lot of stress. So with that said, I want to define some variables for you, okay, that will be useful in this bookstore that we are creating. First of all, I want to define an unsigned integer that will be the tax fee. That means it's basically the same thing. I could just say tax instead of tax fee. So basically what this will do for us is to capture the tax that we're giving. We can call it public, okay, so that it can be seen public. So the tax per that every book purchased in our store, what we get is going to be in percentage. So if we are specifying 7%, that will be the amount of money that we'll make from every sales of book in this smart contract. That is what we are saying. All right, if you have any question, please let me know. So this is address, data type, and we call it tax account. Okay, basically what this means is that this is the account that any payment, any tax that was deducted from a book purchase, this is the account that payment will go to. Okay, so it's more like that owner this thing kind of tax account as well. So what we want to do, we want to also specify this thing called immutable. Okay, another keyword called immutable. Okay, this is saying that this thing, what is it called? This is saying that this thing, you can't change this account once it is instantiated. That means I can't come later and change the account, the tax account, to a different account. So this account is forever. It's going to be like this. Okay, so whatever I put into the tax account, that will become what? The tax account. That is what immutable means. It means that it's unchangeable. All right, so this unsigned integer, this will be like total supply. All right, so basically I'm going to, by default is 0, so I'm going to set it as 0. So total supply will be like the total number of books that have been posted in our store. Are you with me? All right, so that is for variables that we are specifying. So the next thing I want to specify now is the structure of a book, because a book doesn't just have one information, have multiple information that makes up that book. Okay, so we use a structure in Solidity called structs to define a new data type that can cater for all the various attributes that we need to embed in a book. So for example, what that means is that I'll say struct, all right, and say bookstore, a book struct. Okay, that is the structure of a book. A book is going to have an ID, so I say unsigned integer ID. Do you understand this? A book is going to have address referencing the seller. Okay, so this will be the seller of this book. A book is going to have a string, like this string indicates the name of the book. All right, a book has another string is going to represent description, because a book has a description and a book has an author. Okay, string, let's call it author, and a book has a cost, cost, say unsigned integer and the cost, and lastly a book has a timestamp. Okay, so a timestamp, call it timestamp. All right, you see, this is what makes one book. This information is what makes one book. You understand? Yeah, so the whole of this thing makes one book. So each book in our platform is going to have all this information. That is what it simply means. All right, so now we can now define we can now say what am I saying to this now? We can now define a book. We can say, okay, we want to make a book variable now, a variable that is an array that will hold all the books that will ever be posted in this platform. Okay, how you do that is by saying books. Remember this book struct now. Okay, and then I say books. All right, so this is the same methodology like this unsigned integer. Okay, this methodology is like this unsigned integer total supply right here. Unsigned integer, total supply right here. This is now book struct, which is what we define our own customized data type, and this is the variable that is holding it. Do you understand that? Okay, so with this now, but you can't do it like this because this is just representing one book. For you to say that this particular variable is going to hold an array, you have to now put array in front of it like this. Okay, if you have any question, please let me know. Okay, so now this here, I could always move this thing to front here, so that it kind of maintain the flow and the order at which I like coding my smart contract. Okay, variables for structures, and if there are enums, I specify that. Okay, so with this specified, now I want to do another thing. I want to create some mappings. Okay, I want to be able to point. I want to be able to what, fetch each and everybody's book by just specifying their address. For example, if I know that this is your email, covenant@this.com, I don't need to what, specify your email, and all the books that you have in our platform will be what, will be showcased to me. So I want to do something like that, and we use a structure called a construct named mappings for that. So you say mapping, all right, and say unsigned integer is mapped to what, an address. Okay, so by this, for this one, okay, no, let's do this one first. Let's say address is mapped to what, this book struct, okay, this book struct. Okay, so every address is mapped to a book struct, but not just a book struct, but an array of it. So for example, covenant, this covenant, this your address will point to all your books. That is what this simply means. You understand? Okay, so I cannot give it a variable name, which is what I call it books of. Okay, books of, and that is it. So by me just specifying books of covenant, it will get me all your books. All right. So the next thing I want to do is I want to also specify. I could make this public. Okay, let's make it public. The next thing I want to specify is another one, but this one is what, unsigned integer. For example, I could just pass in a book ID here, and it will tell me who is the seller of this book. You understand? That is what I want to do. So this unsigned integer, which is the ID of a book, will what, give me information like the address, all right, of the person that owns this book. Okay, so I could say seller of. You understand? So by passing a book's ID, I will know who the seller is. That is what that simply means. And then lastly, go on. Line 7, total supply. Okay. Yeah. You're right. 1L right there. So corrected. Thanks, man. All right. So is that all? Oh, yeah, thanks, man. You're taking notes. That's good. Fantastic. So, is there any other thing you want to let me know? Okay. All right. So now this last line here, are you seeing my highlightings? Okay. This last line here, I want to be able to what? This one I want to call it book exists. Okay. So what will happen is that I'll pass a book ID and it will tell me whether that book exists or not. Okay, so if it exists, it's going to be a Boolean type. Okay, so if that book exists, it's going to return true. But if it doesn't, it's going to return what? False. That is what it simply means. Okay, so with that done, I want to create, the next thing I want to create now is an event. Okay, event is going to be called sale. So this is whenever a book is sold, let this event fire. That is what we're saying. Okay. So what are the set of information that will be emitted along with a book sale? First of all, I want the ID of that book to be shared with us, and then the address of the buyer. Okay. Who is the person that bought this book, and then the address of whomever sold it for us, who the seller is. Okay, the cost, all right, the cost of the book, okay, which is actually like an unsigned integer, all right, cost, and timestamp. That is the time that this particular book was bought. All right, so timestamp. Fantastic. These are the kind of information I want to log out, but want to also index this one so that it can be very useful in when we're searching through or filtering through things using the ETA scan. I'll tell you about that later. Anyway, so this is what an event. This is the event that we're going to use whenever we are selling a book. Are you with me? Another event that want to create is called created. Okay, so I'm going to duplicate this, call this one created. Alright, I'm going to remove some certain things. I don't need seller and I don't need cost. So whenever a book is created, I want this event to be fired. Are you with me? So next thing is this. We want to create a constructor. Alright, so this is the first function, the very first function that will be run once this smart contract is deployed on a network. You understand? So this is a constructor that I want to run, but we want to pass in the tax fee. So for example, whenever we're deploying this smart contract on the internet, I want to specify how much tax that want to how much tax that want per book, per sale of a book. You understand that? So now I can specify, I can say on sign integer, I say tax here, I use underscore so that there will be some difference between this one and this one because they are not the same. This one is coming from the parameter. Understand? Are you with me? Okay. So now I want to say the tax fee. Okay, the tax is equal to actually this tax that is coming from the. So this tax is coming from the constructor parameter. This one is the one we defined above here. So what I'm saying is that the one that is coming from the parameter, which is the one that will set whenever we're deploying the smart contract, we want that to become the tax fee on the smart contract. And that did you get that? Okay, and then the tax account, which is tax account, is equal to msg.sender. So whomever deploy this smart contract will become what? His account will become what? The tax what? Account. Do you follow that? Okay, so moving on. Now remember that this tax account is immutable. So once it is set here like this, you can't come back and change it because we said what? This tax account is what? Immutable. Are you with me? Okay, great. So the next thing I want to do is to create our first function. Okay, this function called the function, and the name of the function is called create book. Alright, create book, and what it does is accept some parameters. Okay, so for example, it accepts string. Okay, data type is what? Actually title, name. Let's call it name. This is the name of the book, right? So it's going to collect the name of the book, but take note, the name of the book, Solidity has in the EVM or in the Ethereum blockchain, once the smart contract is deployed, whenever you send data to this smart contract, okay, there are a couple of positions where this information can possibly be stored. So for example, it can be stored in call data, in memory, or in the storage. So we are using memory here. That is where we store strings, because strings are not, you don't really have a predefined length of it, so it is unpredictable of the length that it can come with. So the name of a book can be very lengthy, can be short. So in order not to have issues, you specify memory. So this is where the name, each name of a book is going to be stored. There are multiple things I want here, so let's break this thing down here. So I want the description of a book. Description. Let me spell that already. Description, and I want the name of the author. Alright, I want the cost. Okay, cost. But cost is not what? It's not a string, it's what? Unsigned integer, and it doesn't need this memory flag here. So these are the kinds of information that I will need whenever I'm sending, it's not like this is a form. I'm going to fill the name, the description, the author, and the cost of a book, and then what? Post that book, and it will be stored in the database. Did you get that? Did you understand that? Alright. So, but this function is going to be public, alright, and it returns a boolean value after it is done creating. Alright, so now I want to specify some certain things. For example, I don't want somebody sending me like for the name, if he didn't write the name of the book and he just submitted, and now we're having empty data fields in the database. We don't want empty field. We want him to actually get to fill that form. All right, so that's why we're putting these requirements that we are writing now. So for example, I'm saying require that, and the semicolon for every line of code. We're requiring that the byte of, I'm going to explain this to you, the byte of the name, the length of it, is greater than what? 0. Otherwise say name empty. So what this thing means is that I'm going to convert whatever I'm getting in this name place, I'm going to convert it to byte. So if it carries something, even though I only specify one character such as A or B or C, the length of it is going to be more than 0. Okay, so but if I'm having something that is not up, is 0, you understand, that means that this person did not actually fill up this form. So it's going to what? Give him an error warning telling him that, man, you got to fill up this form, man, because it's not going to work out without you writing something in it. So that is what is happening right here. Okay, so name, name empty, or you can say name cannot be empty. All right, so with that, you also do for this one, we call this description, and you can say description cannot be what? Empty. Are you following? All right, so and then you have author. You say author cannot what? Be empty. All right, so if there is no filling of what? Author, let it complain and say author cannot be empty. All right, and lastly, I want to say let it also require that the cost for a book is always greater than 0 ethers. Do you get that? So if it's not greater than 0 ethers, let it say that what? Price cannot be what? Price cannot be empty. You understand? So this is how you specify for number-based things then. So I'm going to remove this here because this produces an error, and this is where it's supposed to be. Okay, so now this will make sure that you don't price a book at 0 ether, but instead the cost of a book will always be what? Greater than 0 ether. Alright, so the next thing I want to do, want to actually put this book in that books array. This is the books array here. You understand this place? This is the books array. So I want to what? Add a new book inside this array. Alright, so to do that now, so after our book have passed all these tests, let it be added to an array. So you say books dot push. Okay, so you are pushing a new book. Make sure you end every line with semicolon. Now inside of the book, what are you pushing? You are pushing a book that has a structure of what? Book. So you say it must be what? Of type of what? Book structure. Book structs. Alright? So now a book, what does a book need? These are the information that a book structure needs. Alright, so I'm going to paste it here and walk it through one after the other. So these are the information that a book will need. Alright, so we need this to successfully push this book into this smart contract. So for example, the ID of this book is going to be the total supply. Alright, sorry, the ID of the book equal to what? Total supply. Okay, but by default the total supply is going to be what? 0. So you understand, and for sure we want the book IDs to start from what? 0. So but we also want it incremented. So we want to say, okay, I want the first time let it be 0, but afterward increment by what? 1. So this plus plus will ensure that the next time that this thing is, we are pushing a second book, is going to be what? 1 now, and then the next time is going to be 2, the next time like that, so that it will continue being an incremental basis. Hope you understand that. So the seller of this book is going to be whomever is creating this book. That is msg.sender. So that is the what? Seller of this book. And then the name of this book is just going to be the name there, like we see it here. This is the name. This is the name of the book here, so that will be the name. The description of the book is going to be the description, but take note, we can't put a semicolon at the end. What we use commas now here. Okay, when we are creating a struct, it has to be ended with what? Semicolons, but whenever we are utilizing it, it has to be what? Separated with commas. Take note of that difference. All right, so here we have this author. All right, so and then this cost, and finally this timestamp, which is going to be coming from what? Block.what? Timestamp. This is a global variable just as much as this. Did you understand the thing I just did here? All right, do you have a question? No? Fantastic. Okay, so let's emit an event that we have successfully created a book. Remember this event that we made the other time, created event. Okay, let's put it here and I paste it like this. So I'm going to say emit now. So I want to emit this event called created, and the ID of this book I'm going to specify, which is going to come from what? Total supply. Okay, and I could actually remove this here and bring it here plus plus. Okay, because I want this and this to be exactly the same, so we can't put that plus plus here. Let's put it here, so that would be like the last thing that it is executed before a new book is actually created, so that without causing confliction in the IDs. If not, why this one will be 0, this one will be 1, and we don't want that, disharmonies in our record. So we want this 0 0 1 1, and then like that as you keep on increasing. Get that? Okay, now the next thing we want to change this. The seller of this book is whomever created this book. So energy.what? Sender. That is seller, and then the timestamp basically is the same thing here, so we just paste that. So, and then lastly we say return true to tell us that this entire function executed what? Successfully, just as we specify here that it returns what? Boolean, and the boolean value that it is returned is what? True. Did you get that? Okay, fantastic. Hope you understand that function. Alright, so now let us create a second function. This time around we're going to call this function pay for book. You get that? Pay for book. So let's create a function called pay for book. Alright, change that. So what does it do? Pay for book, we select a book's ID, okay, and buys that book for you. You get that? So if I want to buy a book called let's say Harry Potter or thereabout, okay, so I just need to specify the ID of Harry Potter, and then the cost that was specified as the cost of the book for Harry Potter, and then submit it, and I will purchase it. That book now will not be in my account, okay, that I purchased it. You get that? Yeah. So now when somebody check for book stuff, you know, my book that I've purchased will be in that account right there. All right. So with that said, we want to make this public because we want people to be able to access this function. This function is going to be payable because it's going to be a monetary function, a function that accepts money from people. Okay. So and it's going to return what? A Boolean value after execution. So those are the details of the function. Now we want to make sure that, you know, that this book exists. We have this book in our store. This book that is being specified for us exists in our store. So to do that, I say require that book exists. Okay, and all we need to do is to pass the ID of that book. If it exists, it will sail through, the purchase will sail through. But if the book does not exist, we can just simply give a warning, say book does not exist. You understand that? Okay, so the next thing that we need to do is to say, want to make sure that, you know, the book that you're trying to buy a book for us, we want to make sure that the price that you're trying to give to us is at least equal to what? The cost of the book, okay? So that you not come and give us, if for a book, for example, if a book is being sold for 2 ethers, you don't come and give us 1 ether. You understand? We want to make sure that that doesn't happen. So we say require that, you know, msg.value. So however amount you are giving to us is greater or equal to what? This book in particular, books, and then I pass the ID. You know that IDs, arrays, the indexes of arrays start with what? 0. And that's why we made sure that the IDs of these books started with 0 so that there will be what? Coherence. You understand that? So now I say books, you know, dot ID, you know, I just have to say specify dot cost. All right. So now this cost, you know. So what I'm saying is this: the money that you're trying to use in buying this book must be at least greater or equal to the real price of the book. If it's not, just make sure that you get this warning. You know, insufficient amount. Insufficient amount. All right. So with that, with those checks made, the next thing we want to do is to what? We want to calibrate data. We want to make sure we do good bookkeeping. All right. Some good bookkeeping. Are you with me? So I want to make sure that I get the address, you know, of this seller. So I'm saying that this is the seller here. I'm defining the variable called seller. And what is this variable? This variable is going to be seller of this particular what? ID, this particular book. Okay? So remember here, the seller of this book is going to return me what? The address of what? The seller. So I'm trying to get the address of the seller by just specifying the book ID, and then I get the address of the seller. Meanwhile, it is very important that we actually specify the seller here. For example, after we push a book, or before we push a book, we say that this seller of, okay, seller of what? This total supply, this particular book that we just made, this first book, okay, let the seller of that book be equal to what? Sorry, okay, equal to what? This msg.sender. All right, so this will now be what? The seller of this book. All right, I want to make a little adjustments. I want to change this total supply. I want it to be, instead of us calling it total supply, I want us to call it something like I want to make a batch edit. I want to change, or anywhere that I find total supply, I want to call it book total books or book count, book counter. You understand? Book counter. Okay, so that it makes more sense to what we are doing here. Or book ID, total book, a current book ID. You understand? Or book ID. I could say book ID, or current book. Okay, I'll call it total book, please. Total books. Fantastic. So all of them have the same thing called total books. Understand? And you want to make sure that this thing is spelled correctly here. So we have everything all working out. So the seller of this book ID, you understand? One who assigned book ID. Man, I need this name to be very accurate. So I'm going to call it book ID. Okay, instead of total book, I want to call it book ID. I don't know, I keep on repeating this. Okay, fantastic. Now I feel like it's better this way. So this is the book ID. It makes more sense here than how it was before. Okay, so now this seller of this book ID, we are making sure that this book ID is given a seller. Okay, so this is now the seller of this book ID. So therefore, when we are now using it here, okay, we are saying seller of, what we are just doing, we are extracting this particular ID, the particular seller's address, and we are putting it here. All right. So with that done, let's also make sure that we get the tax. The tax, let's call it fee. Okay, we are saying the fee that this person has to make for buying this book will be what? MSG.value. This is the amount of money that he is trying to purchase this book with, divided by 100. Okay, and then times the tax. So this will give us what? The fee. Will give us, this is percentage now, getting whatever percentage. If we specify 7% as a tax for purchasing a book, so the fee will be the 7% of the total amount of money that this person is trying to use in purchasing this book. Do you understand that? Yeah. And then we say, okay, on sign integer again, we say, now this is the payment. This is how much we are to send to this book owner. So msg.value minus the fee. Did you get that now? So this line what? Okay, yeah. msg.value. Oh, the value is not correct. Sorry, value. Thank you very much. Great eye. So now, this is the amount. We are subtracting the fee from the cost of the book, and then that is what we are going to use in paying the owner or the seller of this particular book. Did you get that? Okay. Now, so actually, we can quickly do this thing that we did before, which is what we can say. We can say like that seller, dot transfer. All right, transfer. Okay, and then we can say, we can transfer that payment, that amount. Let's change this into amount. Okay, so we can say amount here. So we can say we want to transfer this amount to this seller, but it's not feasible. I want to show you a different method of doing it. That's just what I'm saying. A more efficient way of doing it that is fail-proof. Are you with me? Yeah. So to do that, we'll create a separate function outside. We call this function called what? We call this function pay now. Pay to function. Okay. So we can say function pay to. Okay. And in this pay to, I want what? This is where this money is going to. It's going to be what? On sign integer. So this is this is going to be address. The money is going to an address, right? So this is address to, and then the amount on sign integer. This is what amount of money that we're going to be sending. This is not going to be public, but this is what private, or you can even call this internal, because others cannot be able to what see this function later. They will not be able to interact with this function. This function can only be interacted by other functions, like this function inside of this. So for example, I can't call this function directly, but if I call this function and this function is listed here, then this function can run successfully. What I mean by that, I want to call this function called pay to, and just specify this is the seller, the money is going towards the seller, and then the amount. You understand that? And then this function now will now come and execute all that we are writing here. You understand that? So it's going to return boolean at the end of each operation. So we want to define a variable. This is how you do it. Say success, comma. So we want to be able to track that this payment was made successful, and we are surrounding. We are saying a payable. Basically, we are converting this address. We are making this address a payable. Okay, this to here. You know that by default I was supposed to say something like payable here, but without doing it there, I could just wrap it around this to here, so that it is also a valid payable address. So now with this to here, I cannot call this call function. See, you only need to write this function once, and you can use it multiple times in your project. So you just copy the function and put it there and just call it this way, which is very clean and efficient. So I'm like giving you, a permanent solution around how you will use in transferring money in your smart contract. So this is okay. Ask question, please. Yeah. Yeah. This is a Boolean data type. Okay. The success is indicating whether this operation of sending this money went successful or not. If this thing executed successfully, it's going to return true, and that true is going to be captured in this success. If it fails, it's going to return false, and that false is going to be captured in this success. That is what it means. The comma is just how you put it. It's just how you. It's very important that you put it there. If not, it doesn't work properly. Yeah. Alright, so now I'm not done with specifying this, so I'm calling value, like this is the amount of value is the amount, and this function has a little bit of weird way of specifying it, but this is all you need to know about sending money. And then this particular line here, from here to here, we send the money. But so after sending the money, it's going to return whether it was successful sending that money or not. So if it was successful, it's going to be what? True. This thing is going to be true. This success here is going to be true. But if it did not succeed in transferring money, this success is going to be what? False. Do you understand that? Okay, now, and lastly, I want to make sure that I say require. It requires that success. It requires what? Success. It requires that this thing was succeeded. Okay? So I could change this thing to what? Let's say succeeded. You understand this? So it requires that this operation succeeded. Okay? If it succeeded, okay, then it should continue executing. But if it didn't succeed, say what? Payment failed. Did you get that? And then return true. At the end of the day, return true. Once it is what? Successful. So you get that this is what the pay to function does. You understand? It's very simple. That is just what it does for you. There is also another way. Let me show you a different function that you can. Let's create another function. right here. Let's call this one transfer to. These are like different ways that you can send money. So I'm like making it a lot more streamlined for you so that you can use them whenever you want to. But the one that I will recommend for you to use is this pay tool. But I want to show you how to use these other ones too if you want to use them maybe in testing or something or experimenting. Alright, so for here you don't need to specify all these other other requirements. All you just need to what say this is a more cleaner way of calling it. I could just say something like pay to, and I say dot transfer instead of say dot call transfer. You get that? I will just say dot transfer and then the amount. So this is what this function you can use in calling this function here. And then you can also do another one called send to. Okay, in this send to, what you can just do, just change it into what send. All right. Okay, so you seen how they are, so but in this send to, I want to surround it to what require, just to make it much more solid. Say require, because this one doesn't have a fail mechanism. This send to what send method does not have a fail mechanism. So that means if I'm sending money and that transaction didn't go through, my money will be lost forever. It will not be returned, reverted. Okay, for it not to what to fail off like that, I have to wrap it around this require function so that it's a fail mechanism. I want to require that this actually sent before before this function was completed. If not, I want to say what I want to say payment failed. Understand? I did a thorough explanation about the three ways to send money with what Solidity. I did it in one of the articles that I wrote, and I'm going to share that article with you. I'm going to put it in the description of this video later on when this video is on YouTube. Yeah. So now with this done, so basically all you just need is this pay to function, but I'm just putting that there so that you can know how to work with it in your own free time. Okay. So let's proceed. So now at this point, now let's pay. We've paid the seller, right? We've made payment to the seller. Let's also pay, the tax account. You understand? So the tax account is going to receive fee. Okay, you get that? So the fee is going to the tax account, and then what? The amount subtracted, the fee subtracted. Now this particular amount is going to go to what? The seller. That is what that means. And afterward, I want to give the book to this person that just purchased it. So to do that, I say books of these books. It's supposed to be books of, not book of. So I'm going to say books of. Let me change that. Yeah. So books of what? This person that just purchased this book, books of msg.sender, is equal to this. No, I'm not going to push it. I'm just going to push it into what? His what? Books collection. You understand? So I'm going to push this particular book. I say books, and I'll just specify the ID. The ID, this particular book. I'm going to push this particular book inside of what? This person's book collection. Do you understand the logic there? Okay. So, and lastly, I want to what? Emit a sales event, because I just sold a book, right? So I want to tell the world that, oh my God, I just sold a book. All right. So do that. You specify this event here, and the ID basically is going to be this ID. This is the ID of the book. The buyer is what? This msg dot sender, right? And then the seller is going to be this person. This person here. Remember, this is the seller, so this is going to be the seller. And then the cost of this book is going to be like So here's the cost. I'm going to copy this. Alright, this is how much the book costs. So I'm going to replace that with here. And lastly, the timestamp, which is what? Block dot timestamp. Did you follow all that logic? Okay, fantastic. And lastly, you just want to say what? Return true to tell that this particular function has just finished executing. So this is what it takes to purchase a book on the platform. Did you understand that? Okay, fantastic. So now that we are done, we want to also do other things. We have some other smaller function. For example, what if I want to get all my books, right? I want to be able to see my books. I want to be able to see all the books in the store. I want to be able to see a specific book. All right. So I want to be able to do all that. So let's create some smaller functions, and then we'll be through. All right. So this function called my books. You understand that? So get my book. All I don't need to do is specify. I don't even need to specify. Like, okay, let's say you with this method you can actually get anybody's book. Okay, you can get your own book. You can get information about other people's book that are purchasing on the platform. Since we don't want to make everything private, so I specify address here. I'm going to say the buyer. Okay, this is the buyer of this book, and this is going to be public, of course. And remember, look at this keyword that I'm going to put here. This is called view returns. All right, because I want to view them, so you have to apply views. Okay, view returns. All right, and what am I returning? I'm returning a book struct, a data type called what? Book struct. Look at this place. I used to return a data type called boolean, but this time I'm returning a data type called book struct. But this book struct is going to be stored, it's going to be kept in the memory because this is a complex data structure. You understand that it contains a lot of things. So Solidity is going to keep it, want to specify the place we want to keep it, which is in the memory. Fantastic. But this person's book might be more than one, so it's an array basically, because we check this in here called books of, you see that it's an array, right? Yeah, do you see that? Line array. Yeah, so these books of a person is returning all his collection of books. So want to make sure that we specify that so what is being returned is an array of books, not just a single book. All right. Yeah. So now with that, I just have to say what? Return what? I return books of this what? Buyer. All right. That is just, if that is how simple this function is, we're done with that. Okay. Yeah. So now, what if I want to get all the books that are in my store? It doesn't matter if it's my book or your book, but I just want to get all the books. I want to be able to view all the books. This is how you write that function. You say function, get books. Okay. Function get books, and it's gonna take the same similitude as before. So I'm just gonna change this thing. I'm gonna say get books. All right. I'm not gonna specify any address this time because I'm just gonna return all the books, and all these things remain the same. The only difference here is that I'm only returning this array called books. Look at this place here, these books here. So I'm actually returning the entire book and not a specific person's book. Okay, so that is the difference there. You get that? So this thing is returning all the books in our platform. And then lastly, we want to be able to return a specific book, like want to view just one book. We should be able to do that. How do we do that? I'm just going to duplicate this, say get book, not books, get book, and I'm going to specify the ID. I want to get book by ID. So this time I'm not returning an array, I'm returning a single book, and I'm going to come to this place called books, and I'm just going to specify that ID. Remember, the ID is always tailored to what? the index of that book, because all the books, they were started with 0. The index started with 0. So with this is how you what you actually write a bookstore, and using different payment option. With this, whenever a book is being sold in our platform, we receive our own stipend of it, and then the seller of the book also receive his own stipend. So this is what I will have you do. Okay, I want you now to I will send you. Okay, you can copy all this code and go to Remix ID and test it out yourself there. I'm going to jump in straight now and test it out and show you how this thing works step by step. Are you ready for that? Okay, there we go. So head to remix.ethereum.org. This is where we do our testing for the just completed smart contract we finished coding. So I want to test it out and make sure that everything is working the way we talked about it in that tutorial. So let's get started. So this is how you do it. You open this contract folder, you create a new file, right click, create a new file. Let's call it, or let's just rename this existing one. I already have one there, so I could call this bookstore. Alright, bookstore.solidity.so. So you click enter. Great, now you're here. Okay, with that done, I'm going to jump in here and copy all this code. Great, and bring it and paste it here. So now let's click on save. Obviously there is one error now. So what is the error? Saying that we should have used the parentheses instead of this. You see why it is very important for you to test your code. So we should have used the parentheses instead of a brace in finding this what is it called, this event. The same thing here, this is also an event, so let's change that. Okay, right, so what is it saying? So it will always end with semicolon, remember that. So end with semicolon. All right, so see, this is another problem here. So we should also make sure that we're using parentheses here, end with semicolon. Save that, and there is also another place here if we use that. Great, so you save that. So there is another error. What is it saying now? An event. So we should have said emit here, so we need to change that to emit. So you see why you need to test out your code. You see, as I click Ctrl Save, Ctrl S or Command S, this actually compiled successfully. All the errors in our smart contract has all been debugged, and it's great now. Okay, so this is why you need to watch this video completely, so that you can have all these parts put together for you. So now let's compile it. Let's compile that again. It's compiled. Now let's deploy this. We specify the percentage of tax. Let's say 7%. Be what we use in tax, and this is the tax account. So let's deploy that. It is deployed successfully. Okay. Sorry. All right. So now at this point, let's open up this particular place. These are the information about the smart contract. Like you can see now, we have this create book, pay for book, book exists, books off, get book, get books, my books, seller book, seller off, and tax. So right now, let me just change account. I'm going to use the last account here. This will be the seller account. Let's just create one book. All right. So I'm going to say, heavenly. Heaven visitation. All right, so Lauren Gibson Dalun. All right, the author is Kevin Zadai. all right, and then the cost of this book, let's just say, you know, let's give it 15, just say blah 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 blah. So much. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12. Okay, this is love B, you know, so that's the price of the book, and then I count that again. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13. Okay, that's enough. And then the, you know, now let's create that. Okay, say transact, and when you do that, book is created. Okay, when you check get books, see that book is now listed. Yeah, fantastic. Let's create another one. Let's call this Throne Room Company, and same thing. Let's call this what's the name of this author? Sean Bowes. Sean, when I'm spelling it correctly, Sean Bowes. Okay, let's give this 22. All right, so now let's give this a different author. So this is a different seller. So let's create. Fantastic, that is done. Now say get books. You see that we now have more than, we have about 2 books here. So if I want to do get book by ID, I don't need to supply the ID, and you see that this ID has been gotten, the very first one, and you can see it's 1,550. that is the cost here. And then let's say we get the second book, this, see that this is the one of Sean Bowes here. Fantastic, so you can use that in getting individual book. Okay, so if I want to get like you know, let's say I select this person and just copy his address. That doesn't, I haven't, this person has okay, let's get back. We just finished creating book. Now this person, this middle guy here, this account that has not been used, let's say we want to actually purchase this book called Throne Room Company. All right, so we specify the amount in we. Okay, this is the amount that this costs, so we specify it there, and then we, please take note of this particular amount, 99.99. this is the cost. This is right now you can see that this is the tax account. Nothing has been added to it. Let's purchase a book and see how that works. So we want to purchase the second book. Now that is the second book on this platform using this person's account at this price, which is the price of the book. Now let's click on what? Pay for book, and say book does not exist. Okay, so I understand what is going on here. What is going on here is that when we created this book, all right, we are supposed to also specify this thing called book exists, all right, to be true. So what I could just do here is to come here and say book exists. I say book ID, right, is equal to what? Fantastic. When you save that, it's all good. Now I have to redeploy this smart contract and do all these things again, because it ain't gonna work without doing that. So now I'm gonna just reset everything. Come here, specify 7% as what? The amount. I say deploy, that is the tax percentage. It is deployed. So let's quickly create a book. Let's call it Throne Room Company, and let's call Lauren Alum. Alright, this is the author Sean Bowes, and this is so now let's get a seller, this last guy here. So let this last guy be the one selling this book. He posted this book. It was posted successfully. So we have another dude here. This is let's say Heavenly Visitation. Okay, Heavenly Visitation. Okay, this is by Kevin. Kevin. Right, so let's say this one is make this plastic. Make sure we're choosing a different seller this time. Okay, so let's create this book. Let's say this seller has a different one. Let's call this spiritual warfare. Okay, and let's say it's by Derek Prince. If he has a book like that, so just gonna pay 20 pass and 20 whatever, but that's quite a lot of eters, but it's but it's not ether. So let's say we create this one. So this about total 3 books here. So we have 3 books in this platform now. So now want to purchase a book. Let's say book exists. Let's pass in 0. Let's see. Okay, you can see now book does exist. Let's say this number 4 book does not exist. Fantastic. So for this one that this book exists, how much does it cost? Let's check book at number get book at number what? 0. Okay, it's 22,000. So I'm just going to copy that price right here. Copy the price, come here and say pay for book. Okay, in this pay for book place, I'm going to specify 0. All right, and make sure that I specify the amount of this is how much this book is cost. This is how much it cost. Okay, I'm going to change an account. Let's use this one. Let's say this is the buyer that wants to buy this book right now. All right, so this buyer just have to click on this pay for book and say insufficient amount. So what happened is, let's try to make this 1 ether, okay, to resolve any. Okay, so let's say pay for book. Okay, payment book was paid successfully. Fantastic. So now let's check. My get book. This is the book of this person. Let's copy his address. Okay, my books. So I just have to specify this person's. Okay, you understand? You see, it's now part of his book. Okay, if he comes here and purchase, let's purchase this one number 2. Okay, this is the book. We want to purchase this book. This person right now has purchased this one. Let's say a different user comes in, and you notice that the amount in the store increased, and the owner of this book got his money increased as well. That is what a fantastic thing that is going on. So trading and transaction are being carried out right now. So now let's say 1 ether again. 1 ether, and let's purchase this book at number 2. All right, so this is the person that is purchasing. So let's click on purchase. Okay, this person has purchased this book. Let's copy his ID and come here, paste it here, see that this is this person's book. Let's say this person comes back and say wants to purchase one other book, first one, and if the money is not enough, see that insufficient amount, just like we specified here. So the amount of money that is trying to purchase the book must be equal to the cost of the book. So for him to purchase that book, now all he just needs to do is to specify in ether 1 ether. Okay, so this guy now comes here, and by the way, check his book is only 1 right now. So let's purchase this book. Went well. Now let's check his see that he has 2 books now in his account. So this is what is happening under the hood, and you can see the owner, the people that owns this money, their money is increasing. Like you see the money of this person increase. This is the seller of this book. This person also got new sales on his book. These are buyers, these 2 buyers, and this is the account of the shop. This is how you transact all these sort of things in Solidity. Let's For example, this guy here is a seller. All right, so let's say we want to know who is the seller of this, seller of, seller of the book at number 1. Who is it? You see that this is the seller of the book at number 1. It ends with what? 148. What about seller book of number 1? You see it's 2255. What about this one at number 3? It's the same person as well. So the tax rate is 7%, and I think that is all the functionalities here that has been tested. So basically, this is how you crush pay now functionalities in Solidity. I hope you got a ton of value from this tutorial, and for you to continue having notification about upcoming videos like in crazy Web3 stuff, like Web3 eShop, totally, Web3 that is NFT minting site, which I've already created. You can check on the site and you see, and things such as NFT minting, NFT Marketplace is coming, like it's a true project. Okay, you're gonna enjoy it. Okay, and I have DAO system that is ready, decentralized autonomous organization, and so many kinds of builds are coming for you. So you want to hit that like and subscribe button, hit that notification bell, tell everybody, tell your grandpa, tell your grandma, all right, that this is the Web3 channel. I want to give you full juice of the Web3 space so that you can grow and become a Web3 developer in this time. So it's Darlington Gospel here. I'm going to meet you in the next tutorial. Thank you.